He stopped on the side of the highway, rain spitting down, steam rising from an old man's engine, not knowing that this moment, this simple act of kindness, would come back to rewrite the course of his entire life. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. Just a man trying to survive, heading to a job interview that could change everything. But instead of rushing past, he chose to stop. What he didn't know was that the old man he helped that morning was the father of the CEO he'd be pleading with for a job the very next day. Have you ever helped someone without expecting a single thing in return? His name was Malik Harper, a quiet man with strong hands and gentle eyes, the kind of man who fixed more than just engines. He fixed things others had long given up on. For 13 years, he ran a small neighborhood auto shop on the south side of town. People trusted Malik, not just with their cars, but with their stories. Single moms, retired veterans, struggling students. He never turned anyone away, even if they couldn't pay. But when rent tripled overnight and big chains swallowed the block, his shop, his dream, disappeared like smoke. Now, at 38, with grease still etched beneath his nails, Malik found himself applying for a janitorial job at the very luxury car company he once repaired vehicles for. Life has a cruel sense of irony. He wasn't ashamed. He just needed the job, because back home, in a 2-bedroom apartment that smelled of lavender and old books, waited his 12-year-old daughter, Lena. Bright, curious, with big glasses and bigger dreams. A math whiz who built paper bridges and could calculate square roots faster than her teacher. But Lena had asthma, the kind that crept in at night and stole her breath like a thief. Her inhalers were expensive, her treatments even more so. And Malik? He was out of options. He needed health, insurance. He needed stability. So here he was, a master mechanic applying to mop floors, not because he wasn't capable of more, but because love makes you humble. And on this particular morning, he was running late. But that didn't matter yet, because just a few miles up the road, a broken-down engine was about to change everything. Malik rode the city bus that morning, sitting by the window with a manila folder clutched tightly in his lap. Inside it, his last 3 printed resumes. He wore a faded blue shirt, one of the few without holes, and even then. The collar was worn, and the sleeves bore the soft shadows of grease that never quite washed out. He'd scrubbed his hands with dish soap and a wire brush the night before, but the years of fixing busted engines had left their marks on his palms, in his posture, and deep in his spirit. As the bus rolled past the industrial edge of the city, Malik pulled the cord for the next stop. He stepped off into the humid morning air, heading toward the high-rise office of Easton Automotive, the same company whose cars he used to know by sound alone. The parking lot was still a few blocks away when something unusual caught his eye. Just off the ramp of a quiet exit, parked awkwardly on the shoulder, was a gleaming silver car. A rare model, top of the line, the kind he'd only ever seen in magazines. And beside it, an older white man. Bent over, clearly struggling with the hood up and steam curling from the engine like smoke signals. Malik slowed his steps, watching as the man fumbled with tools that didn't belong in an engine that expensive. His hands shook, his movements were stiff, like pain lived in his joints. No phone in hand, no one else around, just a man in trouble, and time ticking fast. Malik glanced at his watch. If he stopped, he'd be late. But if he didn't, could he live with that? Malik stood, there for a moment, caught between 2 roads, one leading to a job that could change his daughter's life, and the other, to a stranger with a steaming engine and shaking hands. He looked away, tried to keep walking, but then it hit him. A memory, sharp and sudden, like it had been waiting for this very moment. He was 13 again. sitting in the back seat of his father's old Chevy Caprice, stranded on the side of Route 41. The hood up, the rain pouring, his dad wiping sweat and frustration from his brow, waving cars down that never stopped. Malik had watched his father hold his head in his hands, proud and powerless. No one came, not until hours later. That image never left him, and now. Here was this man, older, slower, helpless in the same way. Malik sighed, tucked the resume folder into his backpack, and crossed the grassy median. "Need a hand?" he asked gently, keeping his voice low, unthreatening. The man looked up, startled, at first, then relieved. "Radiator lines blown," he muttered. "Didn't even make it off the exit." Malik didn't waste time. He knelt beside the engine, assessed the damage, and pulled a short piece of tubing and 2 zip ties from his bag, leftovers from an old repair kit he always carried. It wasn't pretty, but it would hold. 10 minutes later, the leak was patched. The steam stopped, and the man was safe to drive. "You sure you don't want anything for this?" the old man asked, pulling out his wallet. Malik just shook his head, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Just have a safe drive, sir." Then he turned, picked up his bag, and walked away. By the time Malik reached the office building, the sun was higher, the morning thicker, and his shirt clung to his back. Easton Automotive's headquarters towered above him, glass and steel reflecting the sky like it didn't know what struggle looked like. He wiped his brow, took a breath, and walked through the revolving doors. The lobby was all marble floors and soft jazz. A receptionist with a headset greeted him with a smile too polished to be real. "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" Malik cleared his throat. "No, ma'am, but I came to drop off an application. I heard you were hiring for maintenance and janitorial roles." She typed something into her screen, then gave a small, sympathetic frown. "I'm sorry. The application window closed about 20 minutes ago. The hiring manager's already in interviews. Today was the only scheduled session." Malik stood silent for a second. 20 minutes. That was exactly the time he spent helping the old man. He could have explained, could have told her the truth, could have begged.
But he didn't. Instead, he reached into his backpack, pulled out a neatly folded envelope, and placed it gently on the counter. "I understand, but I wrote a letter. Just in case. My contact info's on the back. Thank you for your time." The receptionist blinked, surprised by the softness in his tone. He smiled, not wide, just enough, then turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing softly against the polished floor. No raised voice. No frustration, just a quiet man carrying the weight of another closed door and still holding his head high. Across town, in a quiet, sunlit office on the top floor of Easton Automotive, Walter Easton set down his coffee and removed his jacket. Slowly, his hands still trembling slightly from the morning. He wasn't the kind of man who liked asking for help, but today, someone had offered it before he even had to ask. He sat across from his daughter, Avery Easton, the newly appointed CEO, sharp, composed, respected by everyone in the company. "You didn't drive yourself to the office today?" she asked, glancing up from a tablet. Walter smirked. "Tried to. Radiator blew out on Route 18. She looked alarmed. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but I probably would have been stuck there for hours if a young man hadn't stopped." He leaned back, remembering. "Didn't ask for a thing. Just patched me up and walked off like it was nothing." Avery raised an eyebrow. "You got his name?" "Nope. Just said, 'Have a safe drive,' and disappeared. But he was kind, quiet, the kind of man your mother would have liked." Later, that afternoon, Avery pulled the dash cam footage from her father's car, standard issue in every company vehicle. She fast-forwarded through the shaky footage until there he was, Malik, wearing that faded blue shirt, kneeling by the engine,
working with the focus of a man who knew what he was doing and why he was doing it. She watched how he refused the money, how he smiled, nodded once, and walked away like it didn't matter. But it did. She leaned back, in her chair, eyes still on the screen. "He helped my father," she whispered to herself. "Not just with a car, but with decency." And in that moment, she made a quiet decision. This wasn't over. The next morning, Malik woke up with the usual heaviness in his chest, not expecting much. But then, his phone rang. The screen lit up with a number he didn't recognize. He hesitated, for a moment, unsure, before finally answering. "Hello?" Malik's voice was tentative, but the reply on the other end was clear and firm. "Malik, this is company name. We're calling to follow up on your interview." Malik's heart skipped a beat. "Interview?" he thought, his mind racing. But before he could say anything, the voice continued. "We'd like to invite you back, not for another interview, but for a conversation." The words hung in the air. A conversation? What could this mean? A moment passed before the voice returned, this time with a twist. "We'd like to offer you a role. Not as a janitor, Malik. We're offering you the position of Vehicle Quality Control Supervisor." The words hit him like a thunderclap. A supervisor? Him? The janitor? He could barely comprehend what he was hearing. He struggled to find his voice, overwhelmed with a mix of shock and emotion. "You're serious?" His voice trembled slightly. The voice on the other end didn't hesitate. "We are. You've got the job. And we believe you'll do great things." Malik sat in stunned silence, the weight of this unexpected turn of events slowly sinking in. Malik didn't just adapt to his new role, he thrived. Every challenge, every task, he took it head on, transforming the department one step at a time. What was once a disorganized, scattered training system for young mechanics became a smooth, efficient process under his guidance. He restructured the entire system, focusing on precision, skill, and safety, ensuring the next generation was ready to tackle anything. Soon, Malik wasn't just the guy in charge of the training program, he became the go-to person for solving problems that no one else could fix. Whether it was a complex issue on the field or a tough decision to make, Malik's expertise and calm under pressure made him invaluable. His colleagues respected him, and his supervisors trusted him. As for his daughter, the changes Malik had fought for finally began to pay off. With the stability Malik brought into their lives, she started receiving the consistent medical treatment she desperately needed. And that's when she began to shine. Her passion for science and technology led her to join a STEM competition, something she had always dreamed of but never thought possible. The story comes full circle as Malik drives past the same exit that once felt like a dead end. But now, he's not just driving, he's driving with purpose. In the driver's seat of a company vehicle, his back straight, a calm confidence in his eyes. Peace had finally found its way into his life.